feel like my brain is thinking a million miles a minute and the rest of me just like cannot keep up. Gotta get all my books. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing with you my 24 books that I want to read in 2024 and also a little bit of reading goals, which we'll talk about here first because I only have 2 reading goals and they're both very similar to my reading goals from last year, but I want to read at least 1 nonfiction book every month this year, so 12 in total. Last year my goal was to read 5 nonfiction books and I read more than that because I really fell in love with memoirs this year. And I don't know if everyone counts memoirs and self-help books as nonfiction, but I do, so I'm including both of those in that. I'm also including like businessy type books, so like personal finance and just like business workplace management type of books as well. I'm including into that number. And then for my reading goal this year, I put into Goodreads as 67 books because I've been doing this thing where I'm like, okay, as long as I read 1 more book than I read the previous year, I'll be happy, which is true. So my like realistic goal is 67. I think it would be crazy cool to hit 100 books, but I don't think I'm at that point in my life where I can read 100 books in 1 year simply because I'm entering a new phase of life. So I don't know if it's realistic really for me to say that I want to read 100 books that year and have that be my goal. So my real goal is 67, but it would be great to read 100. And I know 67 sounds really random, but I read 66 books in 2023, so that's where the thought process came from. Anyway, let's get into the 24 books that I want to read this year. This is not including series. If I had a series, I just kind of included 1 book because I feel like if I included every single book, I just wouldn't have a lot of books to talk about because a lot of them are series. Also, narrowing this down to 24 books was so hard, so I'm definitely not going to stay just attached to this list itself. But let's start with all the books that I have with me that I already own. There's a lot of books on this list that I have at my apartment, but we'll get to those in a second. Let's start with what I have with me right now. So, also this is not in any particular order. Starting with Divine Rivals. A lot of these books I genuinely don't know what they're about. This one I think is a romantasy, and I know it involves typewriters and our main characters are writing letters to each other on a magical typewriter. That is all I know about this book, but the magical typewriter was enough for me to be like, okay, I want to read that. And on the front it says, no god, no creature, no war can come between them. That is just so cute. There's also a second one out to this right now that I just bought as well at the Barnes & Noble sale. So hopefully I like this one and I can read that one as well. My next book is Iona Inversion's Rules for Commuting. This one is a recent thrift find for me. And I just thought it sounded interesting because it's about this girl who is commuting every single day on the train to work. And she sees like the same people every day on the train ride, but she doesn't really talk to them. No one really like, makes friends with anyone else on the train ride to work. But one day something happens to one of the passengers that she like recognizes, but she doesn't really know him because like I said, they're not talking to each other. So then that kind of leads everyone to kind of get to know each other, I think is kind of the synopsis of this book. And I thought it was interesting because I commuted to work on the train last year, and when I was reading the synopsis I was like, that's so true. Like I would recognize people all the time on the train because we all had similar schedules, and that's why, we would take the same train every morning, but I never talked to any of them. So I thought that was kind of cool. Next up is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This I'm pretty sure is an enemies to lovers between the President of the United States' son and a prince, I think. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. And I can't even lie, I want to read this simply so that I can watch the movie. But I know that this book was very popular, I think 2 years ago, I can't remember, but it was very popular in Book Talk. So I've been dying to get around to it. Okay, this next one seems kind of random, but I got a whole set of Jane Austen's books for Christmas. So I wanted to at least put 1 on there because I want to read some of her books this year. I wasn't sure which one to put on there. So if there's a specific order that you guys recommend I read Jane Austen in, let me know. I don't think there is, but I haven't checked that. So maybe I should check that before I read them, but I want to read at least 1 of her books. So with me right now, I have Pride and Prejudice. I got her whole set in these like beautiful editions and I'm so obsessed with them. I didn't pick this one out for any particular reason. It was just kind of random, but I know for sure I'm gonna read 1 of her books. It doesn't have to be Pride and Prejudice though. I haven't even been talking for that long and my camera battery already died, so I don't know what's going on there, but I'm back. Hi. But my next book is The Devil Wears Prada. I actually don't know much about this book at all. That's probably gonna be the consensus for today's video though. I like to go into books as blind as possible, so I'm only telling you what I know about these books, and obviously I haven't read them yet, so I don't really know much about them. But anyways, I know this is a movie and I have yet to read the movie, but I was talking to my friend the other day and something that I said, she was like, oh, that reminds me of The Devil Wears Prada, and I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, you've never seen that movie? And I was like, no, I haven't seen that movie. So basically she made me want to see the movie, but I didn't realize it was a book until I went to the thrift store and I saw this book there. I was like, okay, I have to get the book so that I can watch the movie. I'm definitely gonna get to this one soon. I will say though, I hate hate copies of books that are like this small paperbacks drive me crazy, but this is such a thin book that hopefully it won't drive me that crazy, but like holding it I'm like, oh, am I gonna hate this? Maybe, but you know what? It was 50 cents at the thrift store, so if I hate it, I hate it. That's okay. This next book I have been so excited to read, and I'm definitely gonna do a reading vlog of this. I'll probably do a reading vlog of a lot of these books if I'm being honest, but this one is on my radar for very soon, so keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to read the entire Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. This year I read ACOTAR and I really enjoyed it, and I've heard that the reading order for Sarah J Maas is ACOTAR, then Throne of Glass, then Crescent City, so I'm trying to follow that reading order. I have Throne of Glass with me right now simply because that's what the series is called, but I am gonna start with Assassin's Blade first. Destiny says to start it with that, and I trust her, so I'm gonna start with that one. But I did just get the whole box set of these for Christmas, so I am so excited to start reading these. Again, I have absolutely no idea what this is about, but you know what? I want to keep it that way, so I'm not gonna read the synopsis, but I'm guessing it's about this girl on the cover. Speaking of Sarah J Maas, I do also want to read Crescent City this year. That's not super high up on my TBR because like I said, I want to read all of Throne of Glass first, but another one of the books that I do want to read is Crescent City, and I'm pretty sure the third book has either already come out or is about to come out by the time this video comes up. I'm not sure, but as of right now that series has 3 books in it, and I think Throne of Glass has 8, and Throne of Glass has a couple very hefty books in there. So my focus this year is Throne of Glass, not Crescent City, unfortunately. This next one is kind of random. It's Winter by Marissa Meyer. Actually, I feel like a lot of these books are random. This one is in here because I have had the Cinder series since I think early middle school. I can't remember, but it's been a long time, and I have read every single one of them except Winter. Actually, I haven't read Stars Above. I don't plan on buying that one because I recently discovered that she changed the covers. Like, this is an OG cover, and honestly I'm not buying any with the old cover on it, so after I'm done with this one, I'm done with the series, and this is the only book I own of the series that I have yet to read. So I think technically this is the second to last one, but it's the last one I own, so probably the last one I'll read. Anyway, I don't know why I'm going into this much detail. I think Marissa Meyer is known for her fairy tale retellings. I'm not sure, but this is part of the Cinder series, like I mentioned, which is a retelling of Cinderella, but she's kind of like a cyborg. I can't remember what they call her because it's not a cyborg, but it's a Cinderella retelling, and I loved this back in the day, and I still think about this series sometimes because it just was one of those series that I read when I was younger and has stuck with me. So if you're looking for a good retelling Cinderella wise, I will say the first 3 books, yeah, I think this is the 4th one. The first 3 were very good, and I'm excited to see where the 4th one brings me. Next up is Iron Flame. I did just finish Fourth Wing, so I think I'm gonna read this very, very, very soon. And I'm thinking again that I'm gonna put this in a reading vlog, but I did really enjoy Fourth Wing. And this is the second book in what I think is going to be a pretty long series. But in the first book, we follow Violet, who is training to become a writer in the military. And the first book leads off on a very big cliffhanger, and honestly, before I got to the cliffhanger, I was like, I'm not gonna read the second one because the first one was a 4-star book for me, but so many people say that they don't like Iron Flame, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait, and maybe if the third one comes out and people are like, oh, this is really good, then maybe I'll read it. But I got to the cliffhanger and I was like, you know what, I need to know what happens. I just need to know. So we follow Violet and her love interest in the first one, so I'm assuming we're gonna start where we left off in the first book because I had a lot of questions that were not answered in the first book that hopefully this one will answer for me. Last one of the books that I have with me right now. This is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I got the whole trilogy for Christmas, and I do want to read all 3 of them because I'm pretty sure they're making this into a TV show this year. I also read Holly Jackson's 5 Survive last year, and I loved it, so I'm excited to read something else by her. But what I know about this book is that it's about a girl, and for a class project she's going into like a cold case and researching it, and then she kind of starts like putting things together, and I think she figures out the cold case. I have no idea, but she's kind of like trying to figure out this murder. That's when I know about it. I could be wrong, and I could be mixing it up with another book. I don't know, but that's what I know about it, and it sounds really good to me. So going along with the theme of books becoming movies this year that I want to read before they come out, I do want to read It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I actually just put a hold on this book at the library so I didn't have to buy it because I can't even lie to you guys, I am scared to read this book because I feel like the internet with Colleen Hoover kind of I don't even know how to put this. Basically, Colleen Hoover Hoover started out and everyone was like raving about her. I think this was like 2021. Everyone was raving about Colleen Hoover. Like all I heard about on social media on like the book side was Colleen Hoover. And then all of a sudden, Colleen Hoover was like no longer good anymore. Like everyone was kind of rapping on her, for lack of better terms. I don't know. But it seems like everyone went from loving her writing to hating it very fast. So I want to see what it's all about because I've never read her at all. I've never read any one of her books. So this year I'm gonna see if I like it, if I hate it. I want to see what's up, you know what I mean? And I figured I might as well start with the book that's about to become a movie. The last book that's becoming a movie that I want to read this year is The Watchers by A.M. Shine. I just discovered this book a couple days ago and holy crap, it sounds so good. I read the tiniest little synopsis, but basically what it's about is it's kind of like a dystopian where humans are being watched. So there's like humans living in glass cages and this woman is trying to like kind of figure out why or what happened. I'm not exactly sure, but it sounded creepy in a good way. Creepy but not too scary. Thrillery but not too scary. And that's right up my alley. Okay, now for a couple of books that I own but I don't have with me. I have a couple of books on here that are kind of like summery reads that I want to get to in the summer specifically. So I have The Newcomer by Mary Kay Andrews. I've read a couple of her books and I've liked them all. They all have a little bit of an HGTV element in them, which I really like. But this one I think is a little bit more of like there's a crime that happens. Like the main character's sister is found dead and apparently before this, her sister has said things like, if anything happens to me, then this person did it. And so the sister is like super suspicious of some people and she thinks she knows what happened. So that sounds super interesting to me and the cover just looks so summery. I have a couple Elin Hilderbrand books that I want to get to as well. Elin Hilderbrand has quickly become one of my favorite summertime authors. So I want to read 28 Summers by Elin Hilderbrand. I don't really know what this is about, but I did Google the synopsis. So it says, based on a classic film same time next year, which Mallory and Jake, the main characters, watch every summer. 28 Summers explores the agony and romance of a one weekend per year affair and the dramatic ways this relationship complicates and enriches their lives and the lives of people they love. Sounds like the couple in this book meet up one weekend per year, and I've never read a book like that, but I know a lot of them exist, so I'm excited to get to this one. I also really want to read A Summer Affair by Elin Hilderbrand. I think that this has 3 books in the series. It's either 3 or 4, but I own the first 3, and my sister read this one, but she said she didn't love it. I don't think she's really into like the summer romances like I am, so, and also excited because I thrifted the second 2 books in the series very recently. Also, eventually I want to get to every single Elin Hilderbrand book, so as many Elin Hildebrands as I can read in one summer is good for me. I also just love a good summery romance read. I also want to read Where the Wind Blows by James Patterson. I'm pretty sure James Patterson is the meme I've seen on like Bookstagram where he always has a crazy amount of books in libraries because he's published so many books. So like public libraries will have shelves and shelves of just James Patterson books. But this one sold me on it because of simply one sentence in the synopsis, which I'll read to you. It says, late one night near the woods of her animal hospital, Franny stumbles upon a strange, astonishing phenomenon that will change the course of her life forever. An 11-year-old girl named Max. And I don't know why in my head James Patterson is a scary author, like he writes scary books. I don't think he does. I think I'm confusing him with a different author. But I want to read at least one James Patterson book because he's published so many books. I also want to read Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. This is another one of those books that kind of seems very random, but I saw this book on Pinterest as recommended as like one of the best business books to read. So I want to read it like as I'm entering the workforce. And again, this will help me reach my 12 nonfiction books in the year. And this is one I already own. Also related to that nonfiction goal, I do want to read more businessy type books because I feel like that's something that I'm going to miss since I did just graduate from a business school. I feel like I'm gonna miss reading business texts like that unless I find something to fill the void. And I feel like it's just gonna be beneficial for me career-wise long term. The next book I want to read is The Lost Man by Jane Harper. This is a mystery about 3 brothers where all of a sudden one of the brothers is found dead. I do love a good mystery book, but I specifically want to read this one because Jack read this earlier this year and I want to be able to talk to him about it before he forgets what happens. And since I've waited so long to read it, I really have got to get to it this year. It also takes place in Australia, which I think might be really cool because I've never read a book where it takes place in Australia. I'm gonna kind of rapid fire the next 3 books because they're all older books and one of them is actually a reread. So I do want to reread Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. It's a very sad book, but I haven't read it since I've been like an adult. I read it kind of young, so I want to read it again now that I'm older. I also want to get to the Odyssey because I want to read more classics and I've had my copy of the Odyssey for a really long time, so I just need to get to it. And then also I want to read The Hobbit. I used to love these movies and I've had this book for a really long time, but I've yet to get to it, so I'm hoping this year I can get to it and see if I like his writing. I have an inkling suspicion that I won't, But I did really like the movies, so who knows. My final two books are actually both books that have become TV shows. So first up is Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. This is a TV show, I think on HBO? I'm not sure. But what got to me, again, is another one-liner in the synopsis. It says, a murder, a tragic accident, or just parents behaving badly. What's indisputable is that someone is dead. I also read Nine Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty in 2022, and I loved that book so much. I think I rated it a 4-star, but it's one of those books that like I still remember to this day. Like it's so stuck with me, and a lot of times I'll read a book and then immediately forget what it's about. That one was so good, so I want to try out another one of her books. And my last book is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Again, another TV show. I've heard that this one is super creepy. I'm pretty sure she's known for writing like future dystopian books that like have concepts that end up coming true, or like that people think could come true. I can't remember exactly, but I know that she's known for her dystopians, and I really want to get to this. And I'm pretty sure she's another author that I've read before, because again, like I said, in my English classes in high school we would talk about her. I just read the synopsis because I couldn't remember exactly what this is about, but yeah, it sounds a little bit kind of creepy, and I feel like my brain just like can't grasp how this story is gonna go. So I do want to read it. I do want to get to it. That was the 24 books that I want to read in 2024. Technically it was more than that since I didn't count series, but there is just so many books that I want to get to this year. If you have any other book recommendations or video recommendations that you want to see from me this year, make sure to comment them below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!